Isn't it crazy that they finally put Let's Talk About Sonic, the podcast about Sonic and nothing else, on the Game Boy Advance for the first time?
We're on the Game Boy Advance now.
Yeah, you're listening to us on the Game Boy Advance.
Wow, we're on the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, we did it. We're here. We did it. The Sega console is over.
No more Sega console.
Yeah. We did it, Nintendo fans.
Oh my god. Welcome to Let's Talk About Sonic, the podcast about the Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm Crepe.
I'm Mitt.
And we're talking about the Sonic games that are on the Game Boy Advance, except only 3 of them. We don't want to talk about the other ones right now.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we'll talk about one of them because it's story relevant, but...
I mean, we could.
Sonic Pinball Party? We're not going to talk about it. Not here. If you want to hear about Sonic Pinball Party, leave.
Dang, are there really only like 5 Sonic games in the game? 6. There's Sonic Genesis.
Well, there's also a Sonic Spinball port, but I think that's part of a bigger Genesis port collection, I think.
Oh yeah, it's like a Sega Smash Pack or something, right?
Yeah, because there's the Advanced Trilogy, there's Sonic Genesis, there's the Sega Smash Pack thing, there's Sonic Pinball Party.
And then Battle.
Yeah, there's Battle. I forget if I mentioned that.
I think you only said the Advanced Trilogy.
I feel like there's got to be more.
I know, right? It feels like Sonic had a bigger presence on the Game Boy Advance than that, but maybe he didn't.
I'm looking it up in real time.
I mean, he had major titles.
Well, okay. There was a couple of Sonic X videos, Game Boy Advance video cartridges, and well, we'll count that. Wow, that really isn't anything.
But was Sonic on the video now?
Was he? Well,
probably not.
This isn't an episode about the video now, but he could have been, for all I care. So I have the Sonic News Network wiki page for all Game Boy Advance Sonic games on here. There's the one I was thinking of is literally just the Sega Smash Pack.
Right.
There's 2 games in one, which is Sonic Advance and Sonic Battle in one, which they have classified as a separate one. There's Sonic Advance 1, 2, and 3, Sonic Battle, Sonic Pinball Party, Sonic Genesis, and Sonic X, a Supersonic Hero.
Oh, only the one Sonic X cartridge? Oh, that sounds about right?
Yeah. And it was like, yeah, it's 2 episodes. It's the first episode and I guess the second episode? Yeah, episodes 1 and 2.
Okay, yeah. Weird. Well, again, like I was saying, Sonic had a big presence on the system just through having some major titles, even if he didn't have that many.
Yeah.
I don't know, kind of weird thing to think about, but the Game Boy Advance has like a massive library, but I wouldn't say that like many major game franchises had like a sizable amount of games on it.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you classify as major. Like, obviously, Mega Man had a ton of games on it. Sonic had a ton of games on it. Pac-Man had a couple of games on it. It's mostly just like, I feel like if it boils down to like your first-party Nintendo games, it was weird because Mario didn't have any original platformer. He only had all the remakes, and then he had a couple of RPGs, and then he had all the spin-offs. And the spin-offs vary in quality drastically. There's a lot of bad Mario spin-offs on the Game Boy Advance.
So weird.
Zelda had a couple of weird ones. It also had a remake or 2. Had Minish Cap. It had 4 Swords. I don't remember if there were any more than that. But the GBA
ones that
is
I
weird.
remember specifically.
Yeah, I feel like stuff like the GBA, it makes me realize the way I view older consoles in retrospect is very skewed because I don't like looking at them on their own. I kind of like continuing to... I lump them in my head with any console that can play the game natively. Like, Virtual Console is its own thing. Granted, it helps, but like, I'm not going to say that the entire GBA library is tied to the Wii U because it has the Virtual Console, even if it did have every GBA game. It's more like, I lump the GBA and the DS together because you could play any GBA on the DS and it'll work.
Right.
And I think that helps both libraries kind of feel more fleshed out.
I guess like in a similar way, I lump the Wii and Wii U together, even though the Wii is the more successful predecessor.
Yeah, it makes it easier to think about, I guess. Well, it doesn't make it any easier, but it makes it feel like, oh, this console's library is actually pretty good because you could also play all these games on it, and they kind of fill in the blanks left by each other.
That's something Nintendo's been good about over the decades. I think about how like the Game Boy Color could play all the Game Boy library, how the Game Boy Advance was capable of playing Game Boy games. Also, like just every handheld console was backwards compatible to the one before it.
Yeah. That's why the Switch is kind of weird, because it's mostly like, here's a bunch of Wii U games and a couple of other games sprinkled about.
Yeah.
And it has the, like, I kind of wish the Switch had an actual virtual console so we could have a bunch of games from all the previous consoles that I can now play on the go. But unfortunately, we can't have that world.
Kind of wrapping it back around to Sonic, it's weird the presence that he has on the Switch right now is very strange.
Yeah.
3 games. I think, yeah, all of which are multi-platform: Forces, Team Sonic Racing, and Sonic Mania. And then the M2, Sonic 1 and 2 port/remakes.
Mm-hmm.
I think is that it?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything more really. It's basically just that.
So weird.
It's kind of unfortunate in that respect. Especially with Sonic in general, he hasn't really had very many strong collections as of late. I think last really good one was on the Xbox 360 and PS3, but the PS4 doesn't have anything. This gen doesn't have anything. The closest you can get is just having a Steam account, because then you can get like every 3D Sonic game except for Colors and Unleashed and Heroes, I think.
And also with Steam, you get access to the, what is it? Is it the Genesis collection or whatever it is that they have? It's almost every Genesis game that Sega feels like republishing it all ever.
Yeah, which with the modding scene, you could literally play any Genesis ROM you want on it, because all you're doing is buying a ROM and putting it through the shell.
Right. I do like the service though, because they're all very cheap individually, and like, if you're the kind of person who's like, I don't support emulation because I'd rather go out and buy the game, well, hey, at least they're only selling Sonic 1 and 2 for like $1.50 or $2 or something.
Yeah, it is really smart what Sega does, and I wish that more companies, including Nintendo, took that up, because first of all, it is probably as consumer friendly as you could get, and you don't see them complaining about lacking sales from having it this way. It's really neat having a modding scene as ridiculous as this, by just allowing ROM hacks, which literally just lets you play whatever you want.
It's unfortunate that a lot of people have just uploaded other people's ROM hacks, but there's at least like a handful of people who are prominent in Sonic ROM hacking, like who have uploaded their own hacks to the Steam Workshop for those games, which is really cool. It's just an open space for them to do what they're doing, but not feel like they're doing something bad.
Yeah, I really appreciate them doing this, because like if we're gonna have the conversation at least briefly about piracy and stuff like that, handling it this way, where you're putting up all your old games in a very accessible and well featured shell, like the newer Genesis Classic shell, that's awesome. Selling all your ROMs for dirt cheap and putting them through a really good shell is like the best way you could easily get around piracy, because you're literally doing the thing that defeats piracy, which is having your games be very accessible and easy to get to. You are providing a better service than piracy, which I don't understand why more people don't do that, besides, I guess, penny pinching and kind of pushing the envelope on what they can get away with.
It's so strange how forward-thinking Sega is like half the time.
Yeah, I think when it comes to fan reception and like interacting with their community, they are really good about that. They are probably one of the best in the business, and they do pride themselves on that, which is why some of the current rumors about the future of Classic Sonic is strange. But it definitely demonstrates like they are willing to reach out and cooperate with their fans and allow Sonic to be used in all these different ways that is beneficial for both them and their community. And like,
no, go ahead.
It feels weird to talk about this because it is very like capitalist-y, but it is just generally good. on a broad sense. I think what they're doing, like it's smart financially, and it's also good and nice. I like
Yeah,
that all these old Genesis games are like $1, and you can get a bunch of them for like $5. I think it's like literally every single Genesis game Sega themselves are offering for like $10, $5, $10,
pretty
which
much
is
something like that.
which is awesome. And
Part of
like
the
you're literally just getting the ROM. Okay, I'm done.
No, you're okay. I was not trying to cut you off or anything. I just wasn't sure when you were done. Part of the problem with this subject is that like we've spent so much time in a capitalist system that it's hard not to frame all of our understanding of business decisions in that lens, even if sometimes when taken outside of that lens, they would still be read as decisions that are good for people.
Yeah.
It's really tough because then you can view it from two ways, and it's hard to tell if the people making those decisions for those businesses are viewing it outside of the capitalist lens. It's hard to say.
Yeah. It's definitely very good on all fronts. I think the thing that's getting me hung up is that like they could also just host these games because they're barely making a profit anymore, and they don't need to make a profit because they're so old that they don't need to recoup the cost of development. But
yeah,
we don't have to worry about that discussion right now.
yeah. Well, I was gonna mention, incidentally, I believe the only time the advanced games have ever been ported from the Game Boy Advance to any other system, period, was with the Wii U. I don't think they were even put on because nothing was put on the 3DS. It was only the Ambassador stuff. So they were only ever on the Wii U. Was Advance 1, 2, and 3.
Well, there's a couple of caveats to that. That
okay,
is the most...
I recognize one caveat.
Yeah, that is the most traditional port of them to a more modern device. But there was also Sonic N, which is the Nokia N-Gage port of Sonic Advance. But there was also a weird Sonic Advance port to Android that was only in Japan.
If I remember correctly, that was a competent port too. I feel like I remember seeing footage of it back in the day when it was more relevant.
I think it's, at least in our circle, it got posted sometime recently.
Yeah.
And I think it got rediscovered sometime recently. And it was interesting seeing it in action because there were some differences that I could recall from the original Sonic Advance with how it worked. But otherwise, it was pretty much just, it looked like a Flash game where like your character sprites are still at one-time zoom, but everything else around you is just humongous. It's like the native screen resolution. So you could see everything. It was a really huge view, which I guess is good for a Sonic game, but it was still interesting to see. Like it was definitely a bigger view than like Mania even.
Right. Well, it sounds good for the advanced games, bare minimum. That sounds like the sort of thing that like 2 and 3 would have benefited from even more than the first game.
Yeah, exactly. They port the one that doesn't really need it.
Yeah. Well, that tends to be how it goes, right? Like they port the first game in a small series and then they port or remake the first game in a small series and it doesn't get the kind of attention or profit they were hoping for, and they're like, okay, I guess we're just not going to go forward with that. Thinking about PSP Mega Man games. Sonic Advance 1, what was it? 2001? Is that right?
Let's find out.
2000. Well, the GBA was 2001, right? GBA was not out 2000, right?
It was at the very tail end of 2001, Sonic Advance, and it came out in 2002, early 2002, everywhere else in the world. Okay,
got it. All right. Well, it like semi-paralleled the release of Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, so it kind of makes sense. Those games had connectivity.
I also apparently it was not released on the Wii U in any territory that wasn't Japan.
Really?
Apparently, that's what this says.
That's super weird. I could have sworn it was in all regions. Okay. Well, at least I was right that they were on the Wii U, period.
Yeah. This is weird.
It's messed up and kind of upsetting.
Yeah.
That means that, like, that means they've barely gotten any... People barely have any opportunity to play them outside of having a GBA or emulation.
Yep. Which is strange because there's a lot of... I mean, they're probably the second biggest source of, like, a some sort of consistent continuity since the original Genesis games, including Battle.
Yeah, true. And the accessibility of the Game Boy Advance as a console, following in the footsteps of the Game Boy before it, got a lot of people on board with Sonic through the Advance games.
Yeah.
Well, weird to think about, but the Sonic Advance 1, 2001, 2002 game, it's all right. It does feel kind of early GBA.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like a nebulous description to give a game, but it's just like, it doesn't feel super ambitious is part of it. There's a lot of like early stuff for the Game Boy Advance that's very, whether it's due to developer or development limitations because it's they haven't had enough time with the architecture, or because they're interested in getting a game out soon because it's a new console and that needs to have its library not so much padded out but filled out. Just a lot of early GBA games are just kind of lacking or simplistic. It's true for a number of consoles.
Right.
Advance is not a bad game, but by comparison to other titles, even the other two Advance games, it's just kind of by the numbers.
Yeah. It's interesting, I think. It's like a little Sonic game. It's a very little Sonic game. You might say it's a pocket-sized Sonic game. Wink.
You might say that if they hadn't done that already.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though.
Yeah.
Is that they've already done a lot of things in Advance in a game called Sonic Pocket Adventure for the Neo Geo Pocket Color.
Sonic Pocket Adventure for the Neo Geo Pocket Color? What's the Neo Geo Pocket Color? Who's Pocket Adventure?
Well, first of all, it's Sonic's Pocket Adventure, and it goes in your pocket.
Okay.
And you play it on the Neo Geo Pocket Color, developed by SNK, known for Fatal Fury, King of Fighters, Metal Slug, etc.
That also goes in my pocket, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, cool. Just had to make sure.
And this was a handheld console that was made to compete against the Game Boy. It was pretty good. I speak not from experience, but
yeah, right.
It seems like it was a cool console. It had a lot of fighting games, which is crazy.
It had 2 Metal Slug games on it.
Yeah. And it also had a Sonic game on it. It launched with a Sonic game as a pack-in title, and that game was Sonic Pocket Adventure, and that was the first game developed by Dimps. I think, if memory serves, that was the first Dimps game.
So, I actually looked this up earlier today, just out of curiosity, because of a minor one-off conversation we had. But Dimps didn't form until Sonic Advance 1. What happened with Sonic Pocket Adventure was that it was developed in-house by SNK, but members of the staff who worked on it went off by themselves, I think. Maybe with some Sega staff, maybe with some... there was a third investor, I can't remember. Oh, Bandai Namco. Maybe with some Bandai Namco staff to form Dimps with funding from SNK and Sega and Bandai Namco.
Interesting.
So, effectively, yes, it was developed by Dimps, but not technically. The company hadn't formed yet.
Right. Okay. But that's interesting that Dimps basically has Sonic to thank for a lot of its existence, when I feel like it's also very well known for doing Street Fighter stuff. But in any case, Sonic Pocket Adventure was probably an even more kind of rote 2D Sonic on a handheld, because a lot of its level tropes were just straight lifted from the Genesis games.
I mean, we can be more specific. All of its tropes are taken directly from Sonic 2. The only one that, like, I suppose isn't is Neo Green Hill Zone, which takes more of its aesthetics from Green Hill. But that's kind of it. The rest is, well, I guess also the Doomsday Zone, like, at the very end of the game. But that's kind of it. The rest of the zones are very much based on Sonic 2 zones.
Yeah, I don't remember all of them offhand, but I know there's Green Hill Zone, Chemical Plant. I think there's Aquatic Ruin. I believe there's Metropolis, there's Casino Night, and then, of course, there's Doomsday. I think that's maybe all of them?
I think so, too. There isn't Mystic Cave, there isn't Oil Ocean. I don't think there's a Wing Fortress. There might be.
Yeah. I know that there's a Hidden Palace, very briefly, because that's where you fight Knuckles.
Yeah, and there's a Sky Chase.
Yeah, so there you go.
Because you go up there because Knuckles uppercuts you.
God.
And you land on the tornado.
But, if memory serves, a lot of the zone names from Sonic Pocket Adventure were reused in Sonic Advance, and that includes, Neo Green Hill Zone. I believe the Chemical Plant Zone.
Secret Base,
sounded like Secret Base.
I think this is right, actually, because now that I'm thinking about it, I'm pretty sure the Casino Night in Sonic Pocket Adventure is also called Casino Paradise.
It is not. It is just. Oh wait. Okay. Wait. I have to make sure. This is weird. The way that.
No, we need to do some research. Mid-episode research. That's what it's about.
Okay, I got it. So it's not Neo Green Hill Zone. It's Neo South Island Zone, which is
Neo South Island Zone. That's right.
It is Secret Plant. The Casino Night is Cosmic Casino. There's Aquatic Relics with an X. There's Sky Chase, Aero Base, which there is Wing Fortress.
Yeah, the Wing Fortress like.
Gigantic Angel, which is more like Scrap Brain than Metropolis.
Right, it's more like Scrap Brain.
There's Last Utopia.
Mostly color palette.
Last Utopia is like Death Egg, and then Chaotic Space is
the Doomsday. That's funny. So actually, none of the zone names are taken verbatim for Advance. Just some of them are very similar.
Well, isn't Secret? Oh, because it's Secret Base.
Yeah, Secret Base specifically.
Okay, so yeah, they're close. They're very close.
I genuinely didn't know. Good to have the refresher.
Yeah.
Pocket Adventure is pretty all right. I've tried to play it a couple of times. It's a little stiff, but it's pretty serviceable. I don't remember where I heard this recently. I think it was probably the Stop Skeletons from Fighting video. Sonic Pocket Adventure got perfect marks from I think IGN or GameSpot, one or the other. Back in the day, it's the only Sonic game to have ever gotten perfect marks.
Yeah, I think that makes it the highest rated Sonic game of all time.
Yeah, which is funny. It doesn't hold up to the other to the Genesis games or really most of the other 2D Sonic games, but it's still a very competently put together game, and it has its own charm.
It is definitely interesting looking back and seeing its place in the series history, because I if memory serves, there are some leftover assets that show either leftover assets or like beta screenshots that show that Sonic still used something more like his classic appearance for the in-game sprites before they shifted over to the adventure style, and like Eggman himself starts the game in his classic attire and then at the end of the game goes into the more modern look.
Yeah.
So it really bridges the gap.
I think it's magazine screenshots is what you're thinking of, though also maybe some of the special stage sprites in the final game also don't have green eyes. Might be it.
I think maybe.
It's either that there are remnants in the final game, like not even unused stuff, or it's all in pre-release material, one or the other.
Right.
Yeah, they Sonic Pocket Adventure was being developed in tandem with Sonic Adventure, and it came out slightly before it, which is also funny to think about. It was technically the first non-Sega console Sonic release, period. Which kind of brings it back to the Advance games just a little bit, because a lot of people tend to ascribe that to Sonic Advance, even before Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
It is a very interesting situation for Sonic on handhelds, for sure. So now I'm thinking. So, to go into timeline brain for a moment.
Oh, here we go. Back to the timeline.
We received a comment on our video about Sonic 1, 2, and CD that mentioned, I'm sure as a joke, that Sonic 4 is a follow-up to Sonic CD's bad feature. It might be a joke. Either way, it's a joke or not. We're going into this with the same tone, regardless of whether or not it's a joke. But we're approaching it with some brevity. So my first response to this, Sonic 4 being a follow-up to Sonic CD's bad feature, is okay. So it's Sonic 1, and then it's Sonic CD, and then immediately it's Sonic 4. But now I'm thinking Sonic 1, Sonic CD, Sonic Pocket Adventure, and then that transition into the modern art style, then Sonic 4, and then the advanced games, and here's your weird bad future timeline with the Dimps games. they all fit neatly there, and you don't have to worry about shoehorning them into the main timeline.
Oh my god. Okay.
I almost wanted to go into this saying, like, I completely forgot about the Sonic CD part, and I thought, oh, Sonic Pocket Adventure should be the starting point because it shows the gradual shift from classic to modern. So you just go from there straight into Sonic 4.
Well then, follow-up question, is Sonic Pocket Adventure our Sonic 2 then also the first appearance of Tails?
Yeah, that works. He's introduced as gracefully as he is in the actual Sonic 2.
Yeah, I suppose. Sure, yeah. So that makes Amy Rose the second Sonic the Hedgehog character in this timeline, and then Metal Sonic, and then, well, the second one is Eggman. So third Amy, and then Metal Sonic, and then Tails, and then Knuckles.
And then Cream.
And then Cream, yeah. I guess this is kind of... If you're thinking about things from this perspective, which I can't believe we are thinking about them from this perspective, this kind of, like, makes it fine that there's so many games where Knuckles seems to get tricked by Eggman again out of nowhere.
Yeah, well...
You still get two in this timeline, but that's better than
several.
5.
Yeah. Each timeline still gets several. He still gets tricked by Eggman several times.
We have the Sonic Advance 3 soundtrack running right now. It's just brain filler while we're talking and trying to think. And I can't believe that the most appropriate song came on as soon as we started talking about the timeline stuff.
That's true.
I don't know what it is. What is it? Bot, tell me what song this is.
Theme.
It's the minigame music.
Yeah.
I never even played any of the minigames in Advance 3. I don't want to live in the world where that's the Sonic timeline.
I mean, wow, we've spent so little time talking about the actual Advance games.
You know.
I mean, I think it's fine as its own little self-contained kind of pocket timeline, no pun intended, because, like, it saves you from having to kind of clutter up, I guess, the quote-unquote main timeline with all the spin-offs that do not fit as neatly, and it also lets you get around weird plot stuff, like what happens with Shadow in battle.
I was just about to bring that up. Since we had that whole conversation about it, it fits nicely in there. I mean, it means you don't get, like, a proper introduction for Shadow, but whatever.
Yeah.
He just exists now. He exists in so far as Knuckles just exists now.
Yeah, the two timelines educate each other. The same happens with Chaos and Gamma. They're just there.
God, that's also funny to think about.
Yeah. So anyway, Sonic Advance.
Do you have anything to say about Sonic Advance? Because the more I think about it, like, the less I have to say about it. It's a very... I feel like I'm being mean to it, but it's just not that remarkable of a game.
I think there's stuff to talk about it on an aesthetic level, because I feel like the first thing that comes to my mind whenever I think about Sonic Advance is a lot of the critique that I've seen here and there about the sprite size, about the characters in particular. So, like, I like when sprites get all crunchy and weird when they rotate like that, because that's how you know that the resolution is correct. This is the pixel art me talking, and you're gonna hear it. So a lot of rotation stuff, there's different algorithms that do it differently, and some do it better than others. So, like, I'm not saying that the one in Sonic Advance is the end all be all, but I still like it on an aesthetic level, because, like, it doesn't matter that they get all crunchy when you're running on slopes, because you're not going to see it for that long usually. In Sonic games, typically, a sprite doesn't rotate unless it's a steep slope. A gentle slope doesn't do anything. You still use your normal forward angled one. And I don't remember if that's the case in all the advanced games as well. But when they rotate like that, that's how you know that the resolution is maintained and consistent, which it can't not be in the GBA. The resolution's too small. But take a game like Shovel Knight. If you're playing that on a console or just any HD thing, the resolution is not to scale with the sprites. And what that means is the game is running all of the assets upscaled to match the full resolution that is being output. So the sprites might have been made for a screen whose resolution is like just divided by 10, like 192 by 108, like something really tiny, where you could display the sprites at their native resolution and each pixel is 1:1. When it's blown up for an HD screen, the game logic is not that base 1:1 pixel resolution. The game logic does not match the resolution of the pixels. The game logic is running at 1080p, but the sprites are being upscaled by however much to match the game logic, rather than everything is being rendered at the initial resolution and then it just upscales, which is the way that is a better way to handle pixel art games, and that's what I think Sonic Mania does, if memory serves.
Because you can Sonic Mania absolutely does that.
Yeah, and that's, I think that's what that engine does in general.
You can kind of see this in play with objects and sprites in motion in Shovel Knight, but the easiest place to see it is in the parallax backgrounds, because you can literally see the different layers moving in fractions of pixels relative to each other.
Yeah.
You can stop in place and see them not pixel aligned.
Yeah, exactly. I think the most layman term way we could put it is that the pixel grid does not match up to the game's resolution at all. So you will see things not properly aligning to the pixel grid as they should be. And Sonic Advance doesn't do that because it's a tiny baby GBA game with like a 320 by 240 something screen. And I like that. I think the Sonic Advance sprites are really, really good, and they do cram a lot of detail for their size, especially with designs as detailed as the Adventure era designs, but I think they do it really well in a way that resonated with a lot of people. And that's why a lot of Flash animators use those sprites so much. And granted, there's other external reasons for that too, for why they're so popular, but that's why they were used in the first place, is because they're so expressive and they use them for so many different things, and that made them very modular. Like, because Sonic Battle basically uses the same sprite style, that gives you a super huge repertoire of animations and sprites to work with for Sonic and company.
Yeah.
And like, in terms of Sonic Advance specifically, speaking broadly aesthetically, I think its level themes are very interesting. Some of them work better than others, but I think especially Neo Green Hill Zone is very interesting and new, even though it's just like a beach. But it's a very like urban beach setting, I would say.
It is, yeah, and especially it's more urban the further you get in.
Yeah, and it's not something that Sonic really does outside of the Dreamcast era, specifically Adventures 1 and 2. So you could see that era being represented in the advanced games really well, and I think that makes me enjoy Sonic Advance 1 aesthetically more than I do the other games, because the other games get more geometric again, and I just think that's not as interesting for modern Sonic.
I kind of have something to talk about there. I was playing up like how little I had to say about Advance as like a conversation starter primarily. I do have some points I wanted to hit on. There's a contrast that I see between Advance 1 and 2 and 3, where I think 2 and 3 have more fully realized aesthetics. I think Advance 1, even though I like its environments more, it just doesn't have much in the way of like an art style that I care much for its foreground and background. A lot of stuff like, say, Ice Mountain just feels very there. It feels like a location that kind of exists rather than a location that is stylized and appropriate for a Sonic game, for Sonic's world.
Yeah.
It's hard to put it down specifically, but compared to like Sonic 3, where the environments, yes, have somewhat realistic detail or texturing to them, they're still very unrealistic environments in the way that they're structured. Whereas you go to like somewhere like Ice Mountain again in Sonic Advance, and the terrain is all snow. It's all just compacted snow without much of a tiling to it that's interesting, much of a stylization that makes it feel like anything other than potentially a photograph, like a bisected snow clump photographed. And it's drawn, so it doesn't look like a photograph. I'm still kind of like putting this down weird, but hopefully this kind of like makes any sense. I think Sonic Advance 1 looks a little bland.
Yeah, I definitely follow what you're thinking, and I was literally thinking of that same zone as I was talking about it. But in a way, is that not similar to Ice Cap in Adventure 1? Or just, I guess, Ice Cap in
Yeah,
general to a
true.
degree?
Advance 1 takes a lot of cues from Adventure 1.
Yeah. And that doesn't necessarily excuse it for being as bland, but then, like, you also get cooler zones. Like, I believe the end game zone is Egg Rocket, where it's just like a really big launch base and you're running through it from the inside. I think that one's pretty cool. Neo Green Hill Zone, I still like a lot. Secret Base is pretty neat. I feel like it could be a little bit less all mechanical boring, which is very Metropolis Zone, but when you're outside, it's cool.
Yeah, when you're inside, I feel like that's part of the issue. It has like the same issue as Metropolis does, where it's all very flat, boxed in. It feels kind of claustrophobic. Also, part of it is that the whole zone feels like it's built out of textures rather than tiles, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's strange. A lot of the background and foreground blend together in my head because they share colors in a weird way, but they also share texture shaping in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
Secret Base in general is kind of boxy.
Yeah, it is definitely the that zone of the game, which is weird because by that point you don't really need zones like that.
Yeah. Kind of going from Advance 1 to Advance 2 in the subject of aesthetics, I don't know if I already mentioned, but I do like Advance 1's look a little more than the other games, even though they feel more fully realized. I feel like Advance 2's geometric look makes it look plastic. Wait, no, it's that combined with the way they choose to shade stuff and shape stuff that makes it look plastic and kind of uninteresting or uninviting.
Yeah.
And then Advance 3 a lot of the time feels kind of barren or too busy. It's always one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that's the level design too.
The later advanced games aesthetically don't really hit the kind of perfect point that the Genesis games do, where they perfectly blend that kind of realism with the stylization of the geometric designs that really fill up the environments in a way that makes it interesting and not boring. Because in Advance 2 and 3, like you said, there's either too much stuff or there's not enough stuff, which is just because like all of the visual information is coming from the level tiles, and the backgrounds are just, for the most part, completely removed from any sense of place, I guess. Like I think of Route 99. That's supposed to be a city. It does not feel like it. It just feels like a bunch of disconnected future roads that convey nothing.
Yeah, I like to contrast Route 99 with like Radical Highway in Sonic Adventure 2, because people love to make comments about like that and Speed Highway. People love to make comments about these two zones levels, about how like they've got loops and broken stretches of roadway where there's no way you could ever have cars on here, and like that's all fine and good. In a weird way, these still feel like freeways or cities in a way that Route 99 does not.
Yeah.
And part of that is like the setting and the locale and the skybox and objects that are in the distance and the visual style and the way things are set up.
Yeah. I think with Radical Highway, there's a lot of set piecing that also does a lot of work, because it is quite literally floating above nothing.
Yeah.
The texture work being very clearly just like a very modern real road helps a lot. Same with a lot of the bridge work design. It makes it feel as though you are on a bridge, but like in terms of the contextualization of everything around you, you are just floating. But because all the roads are so big and broad and there's so much information being fed to you at once on the screen, it does feel like it's a little more filled in.
Yeah,
they convey
like
the
Speed
important
Highway...
information.
Oh, sorry, what was that?
They convey the important information to you.
Yeah, and like the thing that Speed Highway has going for it, separate from Radical Highway in this discussion, is that it actually has buildings you land on, so there's more of a grounding. A lot of the roads are actually attached to buildings, even if that doesn't make any sense for an actual city structure. It still goes a long way to making you feel like you're in an actual place.
Yeah. Like, literally, when you said that, that was the first time I had ever thought, like, this is
Yeah.
just a bunch of disconnected models of buildings, because the skybox does so much work
Mm-hmm.
in that stage. And you never even really get a good look at the pits in that stage. Like, I'm sure you do. I'm sure the draw distance also doesn't help with that. But, like, it never comes to mind. Like, I can't even visualize it because it's never even processed to me visually that it's like that.
Yeah. It took me saying that out loud to even realize the absurdity of roads connected to all the buildings.
Yeah.
So
And,
so
like,
route. Oh, sorry.
Generations does that even better too, just by
Oh
filling it out even
yeah.
more and having a more detailed skybox and a more detailed background and so on.
So Generations, I can't remember. Does Generation Speed Highway let you go on top of a lot of the buildings that are kind of on the sides, like the original does?
Not really, because with that you had to really, like, go out of your way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
With Generations, you're more going into and out of some of the buildings.
It's harder to get kind of the height that you need to get on top of some of them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So like Route 99's big issue is that the level design doesn't feel like roads,
Yeah.
and the background doesn't help in making you feel like you're in a sort of established place. The foreground feels very disconnected from it. And also, it's just not fun.
Yeah. Route 99 hates you. It is a first level that hates you. It doesn't want you to play the rest of the game.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting that it's designed this way. I've seen it compared to, or not compared to, I've seen it described as Sonic Advance 3 was where the developers, I think it was a lot of their first one. Sonic Advance 3 was comprised with a lot of new Sonic Team staff or Dim staff or whatever. So they were kind of learning as they went, and a lot of the later levels are a lot more tightly designed than the earlier ones in that respect.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Especially like Route 99 feels like it was heavily inspired by the other Dreamcast and GameCube titles of that era.
Yeah.
I guess kind of setting Sonic Heroes aside, even though it has some relation to that game. And it feels like the team either wanting to or being made to make their own City Escape to some degree, because City Escape was such an influential level for the perception of the franchise. And if that's the case, I could totally see it having been like the first thing made for the engine.
Yeah, which is weird because it's so different. Like, just in thought process from City Escape.
Yeah.
Like, you can't boil City Escape down to just, oh, it's a city, because there's so much more to it than that. And, like, Route 99 is closer to Grand Metropolis from Heroes than anything else. It's a very modern take on a Sonic City. It's very similar to the Grand Metropolis and Forces in that respect.
Yeah, actually, it's very similar to Metropolis and Forces in that it's boring and white.
Yeah.
Oops. That's a parallel I didn't expect to make today.
Yeah. I was also thinking that. Wait a minute, I said it.
Well, we think it and we say it.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Sometimes I say things without thinking.
We're the opposite of that one movie.
I don't know what movie you're talking about.
I only know it as the Pee Pee Poo Poo Man.
God, what is it called? I know exactly what movie you're talking about.
I think it's called the Bye Bye Man.
It is called the Bye Bye Man.
Like, I couldn't remember it as any other name than the Pee Pee Poo Poo Man, but as soon as I said it, I was like, oh, it's the Bye Bye Man.
Yeah. Which just makes me think of, was it just called the Silent Man?
Silent Hill.
A Quiet Man.
A Quiet Place.
Well, that one PS4 game that Square made that wasn't good.
Yeah, no, we were just playing Word Telephone.
Okay, gotcha. I can't think of place in relation to Sonic, so I'm just going to pull my notes back up again and talk about how Sky Canyon is a bad zone also.
Oh, okay.
I don't like Sky Canyon from Sonic Advance 2. This is me introducing myself at the Victims of Sky Canyon Anonymous group. Hi, I'm Crepe, and I stopped playing Sonic Advance 2 at age 12 because Sky Canyon 2 was too hard.
Mhm.
We talked before on this show about how bottomless pits are somewhat antithetical to Sonic level design, and there's Sky Canyon.
Yep.
It's right there. It's not even the first problem that Sonic Advance 2 has with this, but it sure is the most prominent as you get through it. Right after that, you have what's it called? It's not Cybertrack, because that's the one in Sonic Advance 3. Whatever it is, the digital zone that's in Advance 2. And that one is also very bottomless pit heavy.
Yeah, techno bass. That is
Techno
also,
bass.
you're right, very bottomless pit heavy.
Yeah, so it just gets worse the further you get in.
It's interesting. Looking at this level list, they really do just take the floor out from under you.
Yeah. What does it go for? It goes from Music Plant to Sky Canyon, right?
Music Plant, Ice Paradise, Sky
Paradise.
Canyon, Techno Bass, Egg Utopia, XX, and then True Area 53.
Yeah, which is the final boss.
Which is also a very funny and very cool level name.
Yeah. not an angle I would have expected them to take, even at the time. Or especially at the time.
You would think that XX would be the secret stage, but no, that's True Area 53. I wonder if those names got switched around.
Not sure. Because in Advance 1, X Zone is the final zone of the game, and it has the throwback Sonic 1 and 2 bosses, and then the final boss. And I'm pretty sure the XX Zone in Advance 2 is a direct parallel to that.
Probably.
It just doesn't have the throwback bosses.
I would bet money that the one in Sonic Advance 3 is not named XXX.
Oh yeah, it doesn't exist. You go straight from a lot of
reasons.
You go straight from, was it Chaos Angel to whatever the moon space final boss of that game is.
Yeah.
Oh god, I don't like the end game of Sonic Advance 2 in a similar way that I don't like the end game of Sonic 2, but worse, because instead of hitting Oil Ocean and being like, I don't really want to play this anymore, I hit Sky Canyon and I'm like, I can't play this anymore. I don't think I've ever beaten Techno Bass. Just the level design gets kind of vindictive. Maybe that's a strong word to use, but it lacks any sort of care for what the player might be capable of reacting to. Part of it is that I never adjusted to the trick system in Advance 2, also. I bet if you get that in, like, the lexicon of your hands, the ability to do things with your hands on reaction, it would get a lot more manageable. Sky Canyon and Techno Bass and Egg Utopia, but
I don't know. I think a lot of them rely more heavily on just throwing things at you and being cheap, which is kind of a DIMP staple.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Even Sonic Advance 1 has that issue. It just mostly comes up in Egg Rocket and whatever the final act is. I can't remember half these zone names because I haven't played these games enough. I also want to say it's Cosmic Angel, like they use the angel motif multiple times because they might have. Either way, in those final two acts of Advance 1, the enemy placement gets pretty mean.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I have more to say about the Advance games from, like, I guess a reminiscent standpoint or like an aesthetic one than I do from like a level design or a gameplay standpoint. Because with Advance 3, we talked about it more so in the last episode. But with Advance 2, the big thing is boost mode, which they added because all the levels are very, very speed focused. Sonic Advance 2 is the speed focused advance game where everything is super duper downhill. Mm-hmm. So they have it so the more rings you get, the closer you can activate boost mode, which you do by running at top speed for a certain amount of time, which, you know, lessens when you have more rings. And once you do that, you are invincible, and you have to maintain boost mode by continuing to move at a certain amount of speed, which is cool.
Are you invincible at boost mode?
I believe so, yeah.
Huh. I never noticed.
it's a cool idea, but like it's so hard to maintain boost mode, and
Mm-hmm.
because it's an advanced game, there's so many pot shots, and it's on the GBA, screen's tiny, it really can't exist to its full potential, which is unfortunate, but for whatever reason, whatever cosmic reason, they decided that to access the special stages in advance too, you have to find all 7 of these little gold rings that are hidden around. So like if you've played Sonic Colors or Sonic Generations and you've done red ring hunts and stuff like that, it's that exact same thing. Add 2 more red rings and you have to get them all in one run. And I think that is the perfect framing to understand how frustrating and obnoxious that is.
I feel like the advanced games all have problems with special stages. Some of
They
them
do.
have problems with the actual stages themselves, but all of them have problems with accessing them.
Yes, for sure.
This Advance 1 does something that was actually done in Sonic games before. I believe Sonic Triple Trouble did it this way, where you actually have to find the entrance to the special stage somewhere in the act, and it's just there. It's just in a permanent location. If you fail it, you don't get another chance, but you can always leave the level, come back, and do it again.
Yeah.
And that's not too bad. Unfortunately, Advance 1 special stages are really bad. They rely on depth perception that's not possible to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
It tries to use only 2D sprites and sprite scaling for what should be a 3D environment type thing. And instead of like the half pipe where it's very obvious where you need to position yourself in order to pick rings up because it's all relative to a solid space you can see and move yourself along, you're falling down a tunnel on a snowboard, so you're airboarding, I guess, and you have to position yourself properly to pick up rings, and it can just be really hard to tell how far out you have to position yourself because the rings all scale up the exact same way as they come into view, and it's just hard to gauge what size they need to be at where for it to be something you can interact with.
Yeah.
It's really awkward, and that's kind of another factor in why Sonic Advance 1 feels like an early GBA game, experimenting with the sprite scaling and other things in a way that doesn't feel very well tested.
Yeah.
And you brought up Advance 2's special stage rings. It's just a bad idea having to get a bunch of different collectibles in one go in order to get a chance at something. It's like it's not an inherently bad idea, but in this case, in a game where all the levels are designed specifically to funnel you down one path to the end and are not really meant to be backtracked, a lot of the times it's not possible to go back and get a special stage ring that you missed, especially as you get further into the game. The levels become even more hostile to backtracking.
Yep. And then at least the special stage in Advance 2 is probably one of the easiest in the series.
Right.
It's just a big open field that you could free roam around, and you just got to collect a bunch of rings, I believe. Either rings or like little new guys.
It's rings and ring multipliers, actually.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Kind of weird. I don't know if they've done ring multipliers in any other context.
Yeah, and I believe you have to run away from 0 in those.
Yeah, which is weird because like he wasn't set to get his own spin-off series until like a few years later.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see him, cameo a few games early.
Yeah, I also thought they killed him off in X5, but whatever.
Yeah, well, they put it back together. It's not the first time.
Right. Anyway, Zero returning from Sonic Adventure as the robot that chases Amy around in that game.
Yep.
Probably talk about that at some point. He's not a very remarkable character. He doesn't do anything other than chase you, so I guess it makes sense that they brought him back for this context where they just needed something that chased you.
Yeah, but I guess it works. It's weird that he exists at all, considering, like you said, he has that one purpose, but it is what it is.
He always felt very one-off. Him showing up at the special stages of Advance 2 feels like that sort of thing that fans will do where they latch on things fans like me will do,
Yeah.
where they latch on to something that's shown up only one time and want to reuse everywhere because there's more you can do with it, or they find it fascinating, or they project something onto it.
Right.
But instead, it's coming from official developers who are like, we can use this character again. And instead of it being exciting, most people look at it and are like, why'd you bring this one-off character back for this?
Apropos of nothing, I do like that on the Sonic News Network wiki, his gender is listed as none.
That's sick. Good for Zero.
Good for Zero. But there's not really a whole lot to Sonic Advance 2 special stages. Once you get in, you're not gonna not get the special stage or this Chaos Emerald. It's so easy.
Yeah.
Zero is a non-threat. All you have to do is run around and collect enough rings. There's really nothing to it. The I don't understand why they decided, hey, you have to get all 7 of these little itty bitty rings that, like you said, you could miss entirely and not be able to get again if you miss them. So I don't know why they didn't just make it so like, oh, you need like 2 or 3 or 4, just like not all of them, but enough of them in a given level, because you're bound to run into enough of them on a given run. Like if you're just casually playing through like Green Forest, you're gonna get like 3 each act, and it's not, you're not even gonna think about it. So like if you make it like 4, then at least it's like a relatively conscious effort, or at least make it so like you can get them more easily, or there's more of them on more skilled paths.
Yeah, if they wanted to go that route. I honestly think what they should have done was the way that Sonic Advance 3 did it. Now, listen, not listen, hear me out for a sec. Sonic Advance 3 has Chow scattered around all of its acts, and you have to collect, was it like 10 per act or something? And once you do that, which you don't have to do it all in one run, you can get them all piecemeal by replaying the level over and over.
Yeah.
Once you get 10, you get a shot at a special stage, something like that. It's kind of annoying for Sonic Advance 3, but Sonic Advance 2 levels are actually geared toward replayability because that game is interested in you earning your speed to some degree, like earning like your top speed. It really wants you to learn the level layouts and figure out how to go the fastest. So if the game had a system for getting special stage shots where you over time collect all the collectibles in a level by going to every route, that would almost make more sense because it would incentivize learning the level from start to finish multiple times instead of trying to navigate it awkwardly, going left and right, different junctions to try to figure out how you can actually get everything.
Yeah. It's a tough call because I don't particularly like either of them. It is technically better because they are, cumulative. But I still don't like having to find a bunch of little ones, because what you have to do, Sonic Advance 3 is probably the most convoluted, because Advance 1 you just find a spring and you're there. In Advance 3 you have to find all the Chow. I forget exactly how many there are per act, like if it's 10 cumulatively across all 3 acts, or
you might be right.
You must find all 10 Chow
per
hidden
zone,
in each zone. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
You have to find all 10 of them, and then you also have to find a special key in an act.
Oh, that's right.
And after you have that too, you have to go in the hub. There's a special stage, spring or UFO or something, and that'll take you to the special stage, and you get one shot. And if you beef it, you have to find another ring, or not another ring, another key that you have to go back into a level, and maybe it's the same one or a different one. You have to go back and get another one in order to try again.
This is bad.
So there is that base step of getting the Chow, but then you also need the key. And sometimes it's funny. In Chaos Angel, I think the first act, it's just right there. You can't miss it. I remember this because when we were testing, or when I was just refamiliarizing myself with all the team setups, I just kept accidentally jumping into Chaos Angel, like Act 1 or something. It was just right there. Like the whole first section of the act is just over a giant pit, and you have to platform across falling platforms, and it's just there. You literally cannot miss it.
That's wild. I forgot about the key nonsense. That kind of brings it closer to like Sonic Heroes.
Yeah.
without all the Chow collecting stuff. But even then, the Chow collecting stuff distinctly reminds me of like the Chaotix missions in that game, and then later, of course, Shadow the Hedgehog with all of its scattered collect or destroy everything missions and all of its levels. That's annoying.
Yeah, there is no winning in the Sonic Advance special stages. Now, Sonic Rush, that's a different story. Sonic Rush is your best friend, but we're not talking about that today.
No. Kind of last beat for the special stage talk. I don't remember it distinctly because it's been a while since I've seen it or played it, but the special stages, I believe you're on the Tornado 2, and you're just going all around the screen to pick up rings as they come in. It's kind of like Sonic Advance 1's, but executed a little better, and to be honest, it's actually just like an existing special stage in the series. I can't remember where, but I know there's another one somewhere in the series where you're on the Tornado just flying around to get them. It's in one of the Game Gear games. Either that or I'm just thinking of Sonic Blast, which is worse.
I don't think it's Sonic Blast. I can confirm that at least Sonic Blast is like, it's Sonic 2's without the half pipe, so you're just walking left and right.
Yeah, you're just walking left to right. And for a second I thought it was Sonic Pocket Adventures, but that's also just the half pipe. It's not...
it's Sonic Triple Trouble.
Is it Triple Trouble? Okay.
There's two different kinds of special stages in Triple Trouble. There's a 2D stage, which is just like a big maze level. And then there's the 3D stages where you are Sonic piloting the Tornado.
Okay, right. That's what I was thinking of. And I wasn't sure that it was Triple Trouble because I thought of those 2D ones first.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not even a new concept for Advanced 3 special stages, but from what I remember, they're fine. Like, they're probably a little harder than Advanced 2's.
Yeah.
That's kind of it. On a related note to Advanced 3's baggage, gestures vaguely, the hub worlds were a mistake.
Yes, they are, like, on paper, just a hub world in general is not a bad idea, but the way they were executed in Advanced 3, not a good idea. Not good. Bad.
The nearest comparison point is Generations White World, because that's also kind of a hub world that is in itself a little level you have to traverse to get to places, but they tend to make things very simple to get to in Generations Hub. It's not that bad. Sometimes it's annoying, and even then, you can go in front of a level and press either the bumper or trigger to go to a different one in the sequence, and that'll warp you around the hub. It still doesn't take you to the missions very quickly, but it takes you to them faster than if you decide to walk all the way from Crisis City over to Chemical Plant just to get to one of its missions. So they make things significantly more accessible. In Sonic Advance 3, these are just straight up levels. There's nothing that can hurt you or kill you, but it sure is a lot of, you have to be able to make this jump, you have to take this spring, you have to unlock this spring to get up to this height, to this area, to reach Act 2 or whatever. Some of the later ones actually have branching paths in a way that you can choose to go down a way that will send you earlier in the hub and force you to make that progress back through the hub to get to where you just were.
Yeah.
It's really time-consuming and tedious.
Yep. I like the idea of having an area to familiarize yourself with all of the features that you have, especially in a game like Advance 3, where you have a ton of features, but when it's as cramped as it is in Advance 3, it really doesn't work.
No, it's more of a frustration than anything else. It can offer some utility, like you mentioned, for testing out team combinations, but even then, like, going and changing your teams is like a small process in and of itself that it gets kind of extra annoying.
Yeah.
There's a lot about Advance 3 that could have been streamlined. It has a ton of great ideas, and a hypothetical Advance 4 that takes the mechanical concepts from Advance 3 and drops all of the needless padding from a design standpoint, not from like a level design or game structure standpoint, but from an overall game design standpoint,
right,
would help its brighter spots shine a lot better.
Yeah.
Dang, we talked about Advance 3 for a good chunk.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has the most to talk about. It is by far the most interesting of the three Advance games.
Yeah. I did have one other thing I wanted to bring up. This is primarily about Advance 2 and 3. Advance 1 is the only game in the series where you don't have to unlock any characters. You start with Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy from the start. In Advance 2, you unlock a new character every other zone, starting from the first zone.
I have
But only
news.
if you're playing as Sonic.
I have news for you.
Yeah?
That is not true.
Oh?
You do not start with Amy in Advance 1. You have to unlock her by getting all of the Chaos Emeralds.
That's Advance 2. You're thinking of Advance 2.
Is it? I don't remember. I don't think she's available from the start
You
in Advance
can
1. I
boot
have
up
to double
Advance
check.
1 right now, and Amy's right there.
Let me see. That doesn't seem right.
No, they were trying to push her more as a prominent character at that exact time in the Sonic series.
Okay. I think the thing I was thinking of was I conflated it with needing to 100% the game as all 4 characters in order to get to the final zone, which is also egregious. But in Advance 2, you do that same thing to get Amy, I believe.
It's strange. So you have character unlocks in Advance 2 and 3. And I think 3 is also, you also have to be playing Sonic. It doesn't matter who your buddy is, but you have to have Sonic as your lead character in order to unlock characters.
Yep.
And this is kind of weird. I don't like the character unlocks in Advance 3, but I think they're okay to some extent in 2, because in Advance 2, the game actually seems tailored around the specific things Sonic can do and not any other character. Just in the sense that in Advance 1, 2, and 3, Sonic, actually, I think just Advance 1 and 2, maybe 3, I'm not sure. Sonic has that little double tap air dash in the air.
Yeah.
And that ability synergizes really well with the playstyle that Advance 2 wants you to have, that the level design gears toward.
Mm.
And so it kind of makes sense to focus the game on playing as Sonic to some degree. I still think it's kind of unnecessary to gate the other characters, but it does put players in a position of understanding how to play Sonic before they understand how to play anyone else.
Yeah.
Which is kind of good. It has its own positives. In Advance 3, it's just straight up a bad move. Maybe some characters could have been unlockable, but not all of them after Tails. I'm not sure how they could have handled it to make anyone unlockable. Maybe it would have been weird to have just 2 characters unlockable. I don't know. The starting combination of Sonic and Tails holds both characters back mechanically. It's really unfortunate. Tails gets the worst flight. Sonic, actually, is Sonic really held back? I think it's mostly Tails, huh?
Yeah, it's mostly Tails, because with Sonic, there's not really much to hold back.
Yeah.
But, like, they do break up a lot of his moveset. Yeah, they do break up a lot of his moveset across different characters.
That's true. So just, aside from not giving the players much to experiment with, aside from just who they want to have in the lead at the start of the game, it makes one of the characters just worse to start out as, and it makes the game feel worse. On top of Advance 2 and Advance 3 feeling like they have worse acceleration compared to every other 2D Sonic game aside from Sonic 4. Advance 3 is a little sluggish, just in general. But yeah, just having Sonic and Tails at the start of Advance 3 is not great. I don't think they should have had the characters be unlockable to begin with.
Yeah, I think with what it puts forward, they definitely could have had it a little more interesting. What if they added one more extra character? Yeah, they should have done that, because they didn't add any new characters in Advance 3. But the main idea is that you would unlock them in pairs. Like, you would start with Sonic and Tails, and then you would unlock Amy and Cream, and then you would unlock Knuckles and whoever else. Or maybe not in that order, because I think Amy and Cream offered the most different playstyles. Like, they probably change up your character dynamic the most. Maybe like Shadow and Knuckles or something.
Yeah, that would have been really interesting, honestly. I mean, not just because, like you said, Advance 3 didn't add any new characters after Advance 1 added Amy, and Advance 2 added Cream, but also, like, you could have characters unlocked in pairs, or you could start the game off with 3 characters and give the player just a little bit of customization to choose from, and then unlock more characters from there, one or the other. Because just having Sonic and Tails alone feels a little stifling. You only know
Yeah.
2 combinations to start with, and one of them seems like a fundamentally worse option.
Yeah, definitely. It's like it's because they hold back unlocking characters because like you need to be Sonic because that's what all the cutscenes are tied to, which is a little superfluous of an idea.
Yeah.
But obviously they could easily remove that restriction by just not having the cutscenes or just changing them. It
Yeah.
depends on where you want to put your assets because like I would say that making I think either way you would have to make the extra sprites for the characters reacting to the new character being unlocked. Like you would need every character you could play as at that given time. Well, that would just be Sonic, right? Because you unlock Cream first. So then you would just need Sonic and Cream for when you unlock Tails, if there's anything special with that. And then you would need Sonic, Cream, and Tails when you unlock Knuckles.
Right.
And then for the cutscenes, you would just have to re-illustrate the things.
Yeah, and for Advanced 2, that's fine because they don't even have an Amy unlock sequence.
Yeah, exactly. So it wouldn't even be that much work. They just have to, decide if they could budget it.
Yeah. It's a little weird because all of the character unlocking stuff requires you to be Sonic in both games, and that feels a little arbitrary. Like obviously, yeah, he's the face of the games. He's the main character, and he's to some degree the protagonist of those 2 game stories, but he also doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
They do a lot to give the player agency in terms of who they choose to frame the game's story around from a gameplay narrative standpoint. Like if you're playing as Tails for the entirety of Advance 2, after you get him, of course, then it's a game where Tails goes and stops Dr. Eggman and saves Cream's mom, and that's the end of the game.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're going to give players the room to do that, I don't know why you choose only to frame Sonic as the main character when you actually have story scenes. Or even then, you could still have the story scenes only have Sonic in them, but still have them come up when you're playing as other characters, I guess.
Yeah.
It'd be weird, but other games have done that.
Yeah. And then if you want to really be bold, have the endings change, or at least give everyone equal access to the final zone, which would require them to kind of buckle about certain franchise canon things.
Only male hedgehogs can go super.
Is that an actual thing, or is that just like a what we've seen so far?
I'm certain that's a thing that Iizuka has said in Q&A panels. Whether or not that means it's actually held fast in the actual game's developments, who knows? Whether or not that's a comics mandate at any point, who knows? But I'm fairly certain that's something Iizuka said in a Q&A.
Just looked it up. Official word from Ian Flynn, quote, official word is only male hedgehogs can turn super.
Good God.
That's stupid.
It's really stupid. The implication that sexual dimorphism is responsible for the ability to align yourself with chaos energy is whack.
Yeah.
Get out of here with that. Anyway, Amy can go super.
Yeah. Sega's cowards.
Sega is cowards. The other thing I was going to mention was that Sonic Advance 3 has 3 acts per zone, and I'm very mixed on that decision. On one hand, the game does try to make each act feel distinct in the way that it approaches level design and what sort of direction you as a player need to take through the level.
Mm.
On the other hand, 3 acts per zone is too many.
Yeah,
and we figured that out years ago.
I don't know why there's so many Sonic games post Sonic 1 that are like, yeah, we gotta have 3 acts per zone. Stop doing that.
Yeah,
never do it again.
Please. Didn't they do that for both episode 1 and episode 2 of Sonic 4?
I think so, but like Sonic 4 is weird because you could technically go wherever you want. So like
that's true.
It almost feels like having 3 acts doesn't even matter.
I mean, they're all over so quickly that, again, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think also like if you were to have the 3x structure, do it the way CD does, where the actual level in Act 3 is so small. It's just like a little
Right.
micro obstacle course for the boss. But
And
like,
CD picked that up from the Game Gear Master System games.
yeah, and I definitely think that like in terms of the pacing and communicating the story, infinitely better to have 2x and have a mini boss in Act 1 and a main boss in Act 2. Infinitely
Yeah.
better.
Agreed. And Sonic Advance 3, like, also somewhat gets away with the 3 acts by its whole hub structure, because it delineates things in a way, kind of like how Sonic Colors handles it. Everything's delineated in a way that doesn't feel quite like you're stuck in a zone for a long time, because you have that break where you see slightly different scenery.
Right.
Again, I'm mixed on it.
Yeah, it's here or there. Because each act in a Sonic Advance 3 zone, one of them is built around, I think they're balanced. It's balanced like slow-paced platforming and then speed, which is a weird dynamic, saying it out loud. Because
well, the third one's also kind of gimmicky, I think.
Yeah, and the music tracks will reflect that. So like usually
Right.
one track will be a lot more slower paced and another one will be really high tempo. I don't want to say that it's always, act 1, 2, and 3 in that specific order because I don't know. But my closest comparison is Sonic Rush Adventure, where that is the case. Act 1 is always Sonic, Act 2 is always Blaze, and I think having it be set up like that, like you don't have to have a balanced one. That doesn't make sense to me. If you have a very speed oriented one and then a very platforming oriented one, I think you cover your ground well enough, and I think that's fine.
Yeah, I agree. One of these days I'll get around to playing Rush and Rush Adventure again, so I can have a more concrete opinion when we talk about those games.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in actually seeing, because you brought it up a few times, it's been relevant a bunch of times. I'm really curious about playing the levels in Rush Adventure and seeing what you mean about Act 1 being geared towards Sonic and Act 2 being geared toward Blaze.
Yeah. Like, when I last played through Sonic Rush Adventure all the way through, it was a long, long time ago, but I do distinctly remember it being like, I have now switched to Blaze, and this level is tremendously easier to complete.
Yeah. They don't really experiment with that too much outside of that game, I don't think. Like the whole idea of having different levels be geared more toward different characters outside of character exclusive paths in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, or in Sonic Mania, Knuckles having exclusive Mirage Saloon Act 1, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I guess, like, just like thinking about different character paths right now, I like almost wanted to say I don't know exactly how I feel about them, just as like a very big jump thought conclusion. Mostly because I think at one point I had an opinion about that, because I just don't remember what it is. It definitely makes some levels harder to get through.
It
makes level design way harder.
Yeah. A lot of the time playing as Knuckles in Sonic 3, you'll just get big chunks of level where you're funneled onto one specific path because it's the Knuckles path.
Yeah.
So it can make playthroughs as one particular character feel more limiting. I'd like to see level design that's not overly sprawling, but does have multiple character exclusive paths in that way that allow things to be freeform for individual characters while giving them unique experiences relative to each other. Yeah. That's a tall order. I think it's possible, but it would definitely take a game that's geared toward achieving that specific experience.
I do think that a good way of doing it is similar to how Advance 3 has its character set up, where each character definitely has a different gimmick, but your character's alignment, I guess, will only be one of 3. So rather than being a character-specific path, it is like a character type specific path.
That's
so if you're playing as a power type character, you could, like, if you're playing as Knuckles or Mighty, both of them can go down the same path, basically, even though their abilities will differ on an individual basis.
I do also like that idea. I mean, it kind of leans into how I've stratified Sonic characters in my game ideas before, where, like, yeah, you have the speed, flight, and power types, but you kind of lean into giving those gameplay definitions as well, outside of like, oh, well, the power types are strong, they break down walls or whatever, or they have some sort of function they can do that opens paths. Like, less of that and more, I've decided that being a power type means you interact with walls. Like, you have the ability to climb them or bounce off them or shoot up them or anything. Like, walls are where you function as a power type character. As a flight type character, you can supersede everything. Your abilities are always activated in the air, and they keep you in the air longer, and that's it. Speed type characters have a ground function. Like, if you stratify things in that way, you get this really solid sense of what a type is relative to the terrain. And if the terrain is the gameplay, which it kind of is in 2D Sonic, then you're creating a developed understanding in the player of what each character means relative to every level.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just like that idea.
Yeah. We have brain thinks.
We have a lot of brain thinks. I have one final brain think before we go.
Okay.
Crane the Rabbit is a good character.
Crane the Rabbit is a good character.
I think it's more common in a lot of Japanese children's or teenagers media to have like the polite little girl character than it is in a lot of other territories. I like that kind of character. It's very nice. It's refreshing as a consumer of American media to have just nice little girl who is always trying her best to be a good friend to everyone. It's good and fills my heart with warmth.
Yeah. Cream is neat. And I wish that there were more 2D modern Sonic games that utilize these characters in interesting ways.
Right.
It does not have to just be classic.
Yeah.
I'm not even like an anti-classic person.
No, totally. It feels like the most we've gotten, and this is not even from a playable standpoint, but like the most we've gotten is in Colors DS, where there's a bunch of character cameos in the story scenes. Or like the mission scenes, rather.
Yep. Which like barely counts.
Yeah, it's barely anything. It's kind of nice. You get some nice little writing bits out of it and character interaction, but it's so minimal. No one really has any strong presence. And again, you don't play as anyone but Sonic in that game. Not even Blaze, because it's not Rush 3.
It is not Rush 3, despite what many Sonic YouTubers will tell you.
That's a topic for another time.
Yeah.
I think the advanced games are fascinating, and I hope that like the two of us have been able to kind of convey that feeling over the course of this discussion. We touched on a lot of different things about them, but that's, they're highly varied games.
Yeah.
Compared to like the classic Genesis titles, which have a ton in common, Advanced 1, 2, and 3 are very, very different. And it's nice to look back on games that are more experimental in that way, even if they have a lot of flaws and shortcomings.
Yeah, definitely. The advanced games, like you said, they put a lot of crazy things forward, and it is definitely unfortunate that they never really went back to refine them. Like, the closest thing we've ever gotten is Sonic 4 Episode 2, and that's a very different approach. It's nowhere near as successful.
Yeah, it's a distant relative, I would say.
Yeah.
Ugh. We talk about it a lot. It'd be very cool to see another game like these games someday. Again, a more refined one, but another one like them.
Yeah, you would think with how well Mania sold that they would try and make more 2D games regardless of what era it supposedly takes place in. Just because both have their own different things that they bring to the table.
Who knows what they're doing?
Hopefully we will soon.
Hopefully we will soon. Funny thing, this is being recorded before Sonic's actual 30th birthday this year, 2021. But it's probably going to go up afterward. So
yeah.
Who knows what's happened in the time between recording and this going up. Hopefully some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Can only hope.
I definitely hope.
Oh. We could definitely what?
I definitely hope.
we're all hoping. I'm Crepe. You can find me on Twitter at CrappyBlue.
I've been Mitt. You can find me on Twitter at Mitsumi Mario.
You can follow the show, get notice for new episodes and other little goings on our Twitter, twitter.com/LTASonic. You can back us on Patreon at patreon.com/LTASonic. And you can check out our site, which has links to new episodes also, and links to where you can listen to us at ltasonic.carrd.co.
We also have a Discord.
We have a Discord. You should join our Discord. We don't have like a vanity link for it or anything, but you can find the link on our Twitter. We'll have it pinned there.
And our website, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got it all over the place.
Yeah, good. So you can find it in a few different places. You should join. Talk about episodes as they go up, or just chat and share cool stuff like cool Sonic art and the like.
Yeah, just talk about Sonic. We don't do anything else.
Yeah. What else are we gonna do?
Nothing.
I know what we're gonna do. We're gonna see you in the next zone.
But we're also gonna do nothing.
Nothing.